Welcome back, Silver Stackers. We're going to be talking about a couple different things today, all revolving around Donald Trump. And this goes beyond just the trial penalty, which will exceed $450 million. And this is an article from New York Times that came out on Friday, and it's titled "Trump Fraud Trial Penalty Will Exceed $450 Million. The ruling in Donald J. Trump's civil fraud case could cost him all of his available cash." The judge said that the former president's, and I quote, "complete lack of contrition bordered on pathological." So that's pretty interesting. We will break this down. And this was exactly one day after his initial ruling. Trump hawks $400 branded shoes at SneakerCon, a day after his $355 million ruling against him. This is pretty interesting. And these shoes, here, let me see if I can get a picture of the shoes. Here they are. So it's these golden shoes with the American flag on the back, and it has T right there for Trump. And it says that they sold out of all sizes. I mean, that's pretty obvious. People that don't even like these shoes, of course, are going to buy these. It says that they were limited to 1,000 pairs, and I'm sure there's going to be people reselling these. But regardless, I thought that was pretty interesting. But that's not just what we need to discuss in this video. Of course, that is pretty interesting. But we're also going to be talking about the second coming of Trump and how that could affect gold and silver prices in November when the election is live, when we're going to be facing all of these protests and all of the chaos. Right now it's boiling up, but I feel like this is going to be one of the most controversial elections. And I think that this will have a huge impact on precious metals prices, as gold and silver always flourish in times of economic uncertainty, chaos, and that's a given. It's a safe haven metal for a reason. Regardless, though, let's cover this article from the New York Times. So, the civil trial tested Donald J. Trump's claims of wealth, and a judge found them fraudulent. The former president is expected to appeal. So, a New York judge on Friday handed Donald J. Trump a crushing defeat in a civil fraud case, finding the former president liable for conspiring to manipulate his net worth and ordering him to pay a penalty of nearly $355 million plus interest that could wipe out his entire stockpile of cash. The decision by Justice Arthur F. Engoron caps a chaotic, years-long case in which New York's Attorney General put Mr. Trump's fantastical claims of wealth on trial. With no jury, the power was in the Justice Engoron's hands alone. And that just blows my mind, that you could let just one person have that much power against a former president. And he came down hard on him. The judge delivered a sweeping array of punishments that threatens the former president's business empire as he simultaneously contends with 4 criminal prosecutions and seeks to regain the White House. Do you think if Joe Biden was in this situation, they would let one judge have this much power, yet alone come down that hard on him? Of course not. And his excuse of his memory lapse is being elderly. And that shouldn't be an excuse. That should be the reason why he shouldn't be running the entire country. That's not an excuse. That should be the reason why he shouldn't be eligible. Look at Vladimir Putin talk in that interview with Tucker Carlson and how sharp he is, and just the level of awareness compared to our president is extremely scary. And this isn't a political channel, but I do have to cover things that are political or geopolitical at that, because they all affect the price of silver. And I have to talk about these things because in return, if we are silver stackers trying to strategize or figure out what the price will be, then we need to stay up to date with X, Y, and Z. So Justice Engoron barred Trump for 3 years from serving in top roles at any New York company, including portions of his own Trump organization. He also imposed, that's insane. He can't even work at or serve top roles at his own Trump organization. He also imposed a 2-year ban on the former president's adult sons in order that they pay more than $4 million each. One of them, Eric Trump, is the company's de facto chief executive. And the ruling throws into doubt whether any member of the family can run the business in the near term. This is definitely just an attempt to to use corruption or any type of loophole to just ensure that Biden wins. Who knows? I mean, November's a long way away. A lot can happen. I mean, think about how much happens from a month-to-month basis. I mean, shoot, a day-to-day basis. Imagine by the time November is here, there will be so much that has happened that we cannot even try to fathom. There's so many unknown variables. And when people try to throw out predictions, not even just talking about price forecasts, which take those with a grain of salt, because you cannot predict anything nowadays. We're living in crazy times, so expect crazy things to happen. The judge also ordered that they pay a substantial interest, pushing the penalty for the former president to $450 million, according to Attorney General Letitia James. In his unconventional style, Justice Engoron criticized Mr. Trump and the other defendants for refusing to admit wrongdoing for years, and I quote, "Their complete lack of contrition and remorse borders on pathological," he said. He noted that Mr. Trump had not committed violent crimes and also conceded that Donald Trump isn't Bernard Madoff. Still, he wrote, defendants are incapable of admitting the error of their ways. And then we have this annotated civil fraud ruling on Donald Trump. Here's some paperwork. Mr. Trump will appeal the financial penalty, but will have to either come up with the money or secure a bond within 30 days. The ruling will not render him bankrupt because most of his wealth is in real estate, which altogether is worth far more than the penalty. Also, did you guys know that Donald Trump rents or leases APMEX space at one of his towers, and he gets in return paid in gold, which I thought was pretty interesting. APMEX literally pays Donald Trump in gold bars instead of getting paid cash or money for his, for the lease. Mr. Trump will also ask an appeals court to halt the restrictions on him and his sons from running the company while it considers the case. In a news conference from his Mar-a-Lago house in Palm Beach on Friday evening, he attacked Ms. James and Justice Engoron, calling them both corrupt. And I'm sure that is not too far off. But remember, we're living in crazy times, so expect crazy things to happen. So Alina Habba, one of Mr. Trump's lawyers, described the ruling in her own statement as manifest injustice, plain and simple. She added that given the grave stakes, we trust that the appellate division will overturn this egregious verdict. So, but there might be little that Mr. Trump can do, and that's one of the judge's most consequential punishments, extending for 3 years the appointment of an independent monitor whose court's eyes and ears at the Trump organization. Justice Engoron also strengthened the monitor's authority to watch for fraud and second-guess transactions that look suspicious. So Mr. Trump's lawyers have railed against the monitor, Barbara Jones, saying that her work had already cost the business more than $2.5 million, and this decision to extend their oversight of the privately held company could enrage the Trumps, who see her presence as an irritant and an insult. This is pretty interesting. Ms. James had sought an even harsher penalty, asking for Mr. Trump to be permanently barred from New York's business world. In the 2022 lawsuit that precipitated the trial, she accused Mr. Trump of inflating his net worth to obtain favorable treatment from banks and other lenders, attacking the foundation of his public persona as a billionaire businessman. And I quote, "This long-running fraud was intentional, egregious, and illegal," Ms. James said during a Friday evening news conference, adding that there cannot be different rules for different people in this country, and former presidents are no exception. I think that's pretty ironic. But this is also her second win, or her win against Mr. Trump is the second major courtroom loss in 2 months, or their second win against Trump following a January verdict in a defamation case brought by E. Jean Carroll, a writer who was found liable of Esli abusing. The jury penalized him $83.3 million for that. So this is a very lengthy article. You guys can obviously research this yourself as well. But I did want to hop on this and then talk about the last section of how this could affect, or, the November election, how this could affect gold and silver prices as well. So this is an article how Trump hawks $400 branded shoes at SneakerCon a day after the $450 million ruling against him. So as he closes in on Republican presidential nomination, Donald Trump made a highly unusual stop Saturday, hawking new Trump-branded sneakers at SneakerCon, a gathering that billed itself as the greatest sneaker show on earth. Trump was met with loud boos as well as cheers at the Philadelphia Convention Center as he introduced what he called the first official Trump footwear. The shoes, shiny gold high tops with an American flag detailed on the back, are being sold as Never Surrender high tops for $399 on a new website that also sells other Trump branded shoes and Victory 47 cologne, yada yada. Would you guys buy these? Have you guys bought these? Do you think $400 is too pricey? Do you think it's cheap? I think that's pretty cheap, just considered that there's only a limit of 1,000. I'm sure these things will be flipping for thousands of dollars on eBay in the next several weeks. I can highly guarantee that. I bet I can go on eBay right now and I already see people, if they've already received them, that are selling them for thousands of dollars. So I doubt anyone's going to actually wear these shoes. They would be strictly for, the fashion idea of it, showing that he has a pair of Donald Trump shoes. So the website says it has no connection to Trump's campaign, though Trump campaign officials promoted the appearance in online posts. So he says, and I quote, "This is something he's been talking about for 12, 13 years. Thinks it's going to be a big success." So I don't know if he's going to actually make this a thing. I mean, this is surely going to help pay off some of that $455 million. So before he ran for office, Trump hawked everything from steaks to vodka to venture he called Trump University. I thought that's pretty interesting. So among those in the crowd were Jonathan San Diego, 21, yada, yada. Okay. Red bottoms were a really nice touch. I guess there are red bottoms. So there was something else I want. Okay, he shrugged when asked about Trump's legal troubles. He thinks it'll be an interesting 4 years if he's found guilty, but I have no doubt he'll be president. And I could also agree that it would be extremely dangerous 4 years, regardless of who wins, but especially if certain outcomes are played out. So this is the second half of the video talking about gold prices and the second coming of Donald Trump. So if the 2024 U.S. election comes down to Trump versus Biden in November, Trump will win, says Adrian Hash at Bullion Vault. So apparently some people need an opinion poll to tell them that. President Biden's political standing is at the weakest point of his presidency. And with voters giving him the lowest job performance marks, favoring Donald Trump 47% to 43% in a head-to-head test, likely 2024 presidential matchup. Given our focus here at Bullion Vault, what might Trump's second coming do to gold prices? And if Trump is perceived to have improved probability of winning a presidential race, it's likely to be supportive of gold prices, says one analyst. And I could even say, even if it's the opposite, it still would be, because then people would be scared of what's about to happen. So blahing to the news wires back in September 2016, 2 months before Donald Trump's first win for the Republican Party, and that's from one analyst. So come that November, gold prices, and I quote, surge higher in light of a possible Trump victory because risk aversion has risen noticeably, said a Swiss refiner and a German bank in their client notes as the 2016 election drew near. And now I think the situation's flipped. Now, before it was if Trump won, things would be riskier and times would be crazier. But now, in my opinion, if Trump loses, things would be riskier and crazier, which is interesting. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people think the exact opposite, which, I mean, if he wins, yes, that would still cause a lot of chaos and controversy. That's coming from inside the civil war, the within the day-to-day person, if you live in the United States, from the LGBTQ community and all those people. But from a geopolitical perspective, it would be much safer if Trump won compared to anyone else. As he mentioned, he was like, I could put these he said, I could end this war in less than a day if he wins. But then someone was asking, is he pro-Ukraine or pro-Palestine or whatever. He's like, I just want the killing to stop. He's like, there is no sides. He just wants the killing to stop. And then she tries to like put him in a corner, like, so you're saying, he's like, no, he just wants people to stop dying. Thought that was pretty interesting because everyone tries to pick sides and justify, but regardless, that happened. So gold leapt on the day of Trump's victory in November of 2016. And adding $75 per ounce as the result became clear. So, I mean, this is an interesting situation because I want to ask you guys, and this is interesting right here. So, Yeats' gloom seemed, and this is, I guess, from this quote, things fall apart, center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosened upon the world. So, Yeats' gloom seemed very apparent given the horrors in Israel, the misery in Gaza, the continued suffering and slaughter in Ukraine, and the risk worsening conflict and political deaths worldwide in 2024. But then the Second Coming, written in 1919 as the horrors of World War I were followed by deadly Spanish flu pandemic, also seemed quoted to discuss social and economic impact, quote back in 2020. Yada, yada, okay, but regardless, here's interesting. Here's a chart. So, let me go back because that was really interesting. So, oh man, where was that at? It's this right here. So here's a chart, and you could see when COVID hit, what happened. Russia and Ukraine hit, what happened. And then SVB, which is Silicon Valley Bank, what happened. And then Hamas, you can see what happened. So this is not, there's definitely correlation here. This is not ironic. So what might 2024 bring with gold back above 2,000, silver at $24? How gloomy or not will it prove for your personal finances? Now, a lot of people are buying gold, and gold is a great investment. There are a lot of there's a lot, and I mean a lot of experts saying that silver is the better buy right now. Why silver may be poised to outshine gold in 2024. Then we have silver as room to run. Will it outperform gold? And then the gold to silver ratio says silver's still cheap. And then there's a really good video from 2 to 1, gold to silver ratio. Should we be buying silver instead of gold? You guys go check that out. But there's just a lot of information sharing about that. That's a whole separate video, though. This video is already lengthy, so I'm going to wrap it up here. But remember, folks, let me know what you think about this. And, I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.